To Two-Wheeling Classics. I'm Hayley Coxon, and today we are at the Isle of Man Motor Museum. They've got a bunch of amazing machinery in here today, but of course what we're going to be looking at is the two-wheeled variety. And boy, have they got quite an incredible collection. So Darren from the museum here is waiting to have a little chat with us, waiting to share some of his machines. So want to join me? Come on. So as you can see, so this place opened at 2015, so it's been open for a few years now, and they've just been adding to their collection. Now, Darren is his father and himself started this museum purely to show off their collection of cars, but recognise when they moved to the Isle of Man how much of a bike scene, of course, the two-wheeled action was on the Isle of Man. So they started adding the two wheels to their collection as well. So now they have, I believe, almost 360 two-wheeled bikes, two-wheel bikes of course, two-wheel machines here, and just over 204. So they do have some sidecars in here as well. So we're going to go guide you around, show some of my favourites anyway, and Darren's going to share some of the stories of the collection. How are we doing?
Not too bad, yourself?
Yeah, great, thank you. Thank you for having us here.
Thanks for coming.
I'm excited to share some of the stories behind these incredible pieces of history, really, that you've got here. So I was just explaining your passion behind opening up this wonderful venue and museum. So it's been 2015, and how has it been so far since you've opened up the doors?
It was good. It's very good. You know, we've had great reception from people. We've got a lot of interesting things in here. We had our personal collection from the core of the museum, but it was always our aim to get a lot of things on loan as well, so that if you come back in a year's time, you'll be seeing a totally different group of vehicles on display. So bikes change all the time, cars change all the time. They come, they go. Some come back, some disappear often. There's a lot of interesting machinery hidden away in sort of garages and sheds on the Isle of Man, and we're slowly trying to convince the owners to share them with everyone and let us put them on display.
Fantastic. So you've got some pieces of personal collections from people, but also some amazing racing history here too. So it's a little bit beaten up. So there's obviously some kind of story to go behind that. So what's going on with this?
These bikes, they were all built by local riders.
Yeah.
This green one here, I always say the guy who built it, he broke a record in the morning, and then he broke his leg in the afternoon. It was 2016. He's like I say, he set a record, went out for another run. Unfortunately, got into a tank slapper at about 175 mile an hour. Bike kicked him off at about 100 mile an hour, and he ended up in Salt Lake City Hospital for a few days after that. But the bike was left exactly as it crashed. Shipped back. There's still salt all over it, and it's been on display ever since. And he's gone on. He's built another bike now, and he's building a car to go back to Bonneville. And
a car and a bike to go to Bonneville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Really interesting machine. But there's kind of a big history on the Isle of Man with Bonneville. There's a group of local riders who they build these machines. They go out, they set records. They've been very, very successful so far. So hopefully that will continue. The bikes just behind here are another person's. That he's built. He's the two sort of blue, black and white ones. Mm-hmm. They went out in 2012 and 2018. Again, set records, different classes. He joined the 200 mile an hour club at Bonneville on his first attempt. Just real passion for building these. And we're very fortunate he likes the public to be able to see them. So they're on display here. We've got his trophies in the cabinets. And during TT, some of these guys will come up and they'll be hanging out and just chatting to our visitors as well.
Wow, amazing. Amazing to hear we've got Manxie's making their imprint on such an iconic speedway.
Definitely. It's nice to be out there and see the Isle of Man flag flying, on the salt flats.
And for you to go with them and enjoy the journey.
It's incredible. It's just such a wild experience. It's very different being part of a team compared to just visiting as well and trying to. The pit lane there is 4 or 5 miles long. So you want to be in with someone and see the experience and do it properly, and it was just fantastic thing to do.
Great. And will you be going back when he takes the 4 wheels as well?
Hopefully so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. When he hasn't figured out when he's going to do that. But
Okay.
hopefully I'll be there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Beautiful statue on the end there.
Yes. Yep.
So the famous TT,
The TT trophy,
replica of the
yeah.
TT trophy. So there's a story behind that.
Yes,
Tell us
that was actually
where that came from.
It was actually carved by a chainsaw. An artist, pair of artists who do chainsaw sculptures.
Okay.
Also big TT fans, and they decided, well, this might be the right place to have that on display. So they contacted us, and we were able to get it on display for people to see.
Wow.
It's incredible.
The
Incredibly
attention to detail is
It's unreal.
insane.
So that's displayed there at the end of this mezzanine with some of our early bikes from sort of the 10s and 20s onwards.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this whole mezzanine is roughly chronological, so it runs right up to sort of modern day machinery as well.
And what's your oldest bike that you have?
The oldest bike at the moment, I think, is 1919. I think we've had collections come and go over the years, so we ended up with had at one stage bikes from 1903, which were very much motorised bicycles.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got newer collections in down there, I think newer 1919, so
Yeah.
it's all relative. And primarily English bikes from that era is what we've got here, and we're fortunate we get bikes on loan, like I say, from local collectors and local organisations. Milltown is nearby, and they've got a few bikes in here. They also have bikes on display at their premises, so they kind of swap back and forth what's on display where, which is lovely to sort of be part of that community as well.
And what's your oldest race bike up here? Do you know which that would
That's a
be?
challenge. I don't know actually off the top of my head what's the oldest race bike here. We've got some examples that would be equivalent to what raced. Whether they actually were raced in period,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Okay.
I know this Honda right beside us actually was definitely raced in period.
Oof.
Yeah. We've got this bike here, and then the road-going variant right beside it. And it was fun. A couple of years ago at TT, we had a VIP visit from Honda, and one of their VPs or chief exec, a very high level at Honda Japan, came in. But the first thing he wanted to do was sit on one of these bikes because he remembered racing them when he was a kid.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So I always say, car and bike guys, no matter what they are, who they are, just get along. It's all the same mentality, I always think.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Do you ever get to take any of these out, or do you keep them all? Just because how do you keep them? Do you have to tick them over? How do you keep them maintained? And how much of a mission is it to keep these bad boys maintained as well?
Well, like as an example, there's 1,500 tyres in the museum.
Wow.
So to check tyre pressures, just check them, it'll take one person a couple of weeks. So it's really a case of monitoring these. We run vehicles, and when we do take them out, we like to actually use them not just for like an hour. We think it's much better to prep it fully, take it out, use it for a week, a month, something like that, bring it to a few events. So we've had our Peel P50 and our Peel Trident recently for 3 or 4 different things. They've been out, and we've been using them for the past month. They're probably running better now than they have ever ran in years because they've had that use.
Yeah.
And it gives the opportunity to actually go in, tweak them, adjust them, get them set up right, learn about them, learn how to do it for next time, and then we put things away safely.
Yep.
And bikes as well. If they're on loan to us, we're less likely to use them, but it depends. If the owners give permission and there's certain special events, they can come out for that as well.
I'd love to turn a few of these over and hear what they sound like. Now, we've got to head to that one at the end. So, Mr. Guy Martin,
Yes.
we miss him from the TT, really, don't we?
Yeah, he was a hell of a character.
He still is. Yeah, a classic TT, the big TT, Southern Hunt, all of the great events that we've got on the island. We miss him racing here, but of course he's a superstar.
Yeah, he's a TV superstar
host now, isn't he? And one of his shows, he took this on the wall of death, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So that was, I think it was on Channel 4 a few years ago. Yeah, we're fortunate we've had it in the museum now for a few years. It was actually, we have a wall of bikes display on the side of the museum. It was the very first bike we put on our wall. We thought that was the appropriate place for it, and now yeah, it's here on one of our mezzanines for people to see.
So world record holder.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think too many people are going to be challenging him for that.
No,
record now, to be
not
fair.
at all.
But it's a lovely piece of kit, and even the workmanship on the frame and everything, it's a very impressive bike to see.
Incredible. He's done so well, hasn't he? Some of the stuff he's achieved and
Definitely.
survived.
Yes, yeah. And that's the bigger thing. He's kept going the whole time.
I know.
Least, yeah.
Yeah, we miss him from the TT. These are beautiful, aren't they? You know, I know it's not a classic, but it's a classic name. It's a classic brand, isn't it? And I love a BCM, so CMM. Oh gosh. You see them in so many of the movies, don't they? They just look so cool.
They're really, really nice bikes.
Sound good too.
And then along here, like I say, newer bikes up here, so a real mix of things again. Off-road, road race. We've got some BSB bikes. One of the first winners of the electric TT, GT0, they've rebranded it. There's a bike down there that at one point held the land speed record for a blind man riding a solo motorcycle.
Wow.
Yeah, a guy called Billy Baxter. And he was raising, money for charity, and the really nice guy contacted us and said, "Would you like this bike on display?" And yes, of course we would. So, we're fortunate we get, queries from all over the world now as to put things on display or about history, and we're always interested in finding new things, and if people have something they feel should be here on display, get in touch with us as well.
Fantastic. All right. Great. Well, I want to head over to that wall over there. Let's go and check it out. All right. So just before we do move on to this wall that I've been going on about, check this out. So I'm looking at it thinking, oh, it's because I know you have a special jet ski. I'll just touch on that in a second. Like, is it that the famous jet ski? And I think, oh no. Darren pointed out it's a moped. It's a functional moped. Jet ski, moped. So I think that's something that could
terrifying to use.
I bet, trying to get your balance.
Yeah, but that's once you're going, it's easy. It's actually stopping, so you can't put your foot down.
Oh gosh.
So basically the side stand has a little wheel on it, and you lower that down separately and kind of just slow down and tip over until it rolls on the side stand.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have actually been brave enough to take it out for a spin yet, so it's kind of sitting there quite happily right now.
And to touch on a very funny story, it's not quite classics, but it's definitely a classically entertaining story. In lockdown, a gentleman made his way over from Scotland on a jet ski to meet his love. And the jet ski is just over there. This is the one, isn't it? Yeah,
so this was one of our actual lockdown projects when I had far too much time to think of strange things to put together in the workshop. But we'd managed to get hold of this set of road signs, all the corner signs that were on the TT course before the current generation were put up, and the mile markers and the big veranda sign as well. So yeah, we had these, and we were thinking, right, we need to put these on display and kind of make it a real feature of the museum. And we ended up making that track outline in the workshop during lockdown. It was a single-person project almost, and did that, got it all up and got all the various corner signs up roughly in order around the course.
Brilliant.
And a few of the refuelers as well mounted over the door to our workshop too.
You try and get your hands on a piece of scoreboard now as well, don't you?
That's a story.
That's missed. What have you made this the course from then? What is that?
It's like galvanised handrail.
Okay.
I printed that off full size. We stuck it to the workshop floor and just kind of cut and slit and bent and welded and filled and manufactured that whole thing. It's in 4 sections, so we could actually manhandle it into place. But yeah, really, really fun project to actually do, and I think it's come out really well. Looks good on the wall there.
Superb.
Yeah. And then we've got a few of our TT bikes in the corner of there.
Yeah, let's. So the great Hizzy. Do you remember the picture of him in his purple leathers with This purple bike. So who have we? We've got
So we've got kind of some
few TT legends here.
Yeah, quite a few TT legend, local legend, Connor Cummins as well. We've got
Yep.
John McGuinness, Hizzy, as you said, Joey Dunlop, and then Milky Quayle's bike as well in the back there. So we just decided to put this kind of in a little bit of a grid layout, not quite for the TT, but let's say they were all in the 700 instead. But yeah, we kind of grabbed these and decided to make a nice sort of photo op for our visitors this in front of our scoreboard photo. But yeah, it's such a privilege to have these bikes on display as well, you know, and the number of visitors we get who start looking at them and then you hear them talking about, you know, where they were sitting in the hedge one day watching it and all of that. It's fantastic. Brings back a lot of memories for people.
So you got some pretty special classic bikes up there as well. They're part of a collection you have here, is that right?
Yeah, so these four sort of predominantly white bikes at the end here, they're one rider a guy called David Nobbs. He was always sort of racing last year's bike, shall we say, and he was able to then keep most of the bikes he'd raced over the years. So we've got these four, and we've got a load more of his up on the mezzanine that his son has kind of kindly arranged for us to have them on loan to tell his dad's story as well.
Honda here.
Yeah, the little one at the top.
Yes, number one.
Yeah, it's a friend of ours was racing that just as, you know, a bit of fun at the weekends, and he moved on to a different machine. He donated it to the museum very kindly. So it's been sort of up on the wall there as part of our. We had a wall of Hondas previously. It's now 2 levels are mixed Japanese bikes, and we've got a load of British-made scooters on the bottom level, because there's a huge Isle of Man sort of history with scooters. There was rallies back in the 60s.
Let's dive into that a little bit more. You were talking about that earlier. I was completely unaware. So in the 60s, it would make sense, wouldn't it? Because we were a seaside town. It was a great place to come for your holidays. I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a hotel in Douglas, and we loved the people that were coming out, the holiday makers. It was just, and the buzz of hearing when my mum grew up here too. So it makes sense that that would happen.
Yes,
so tell us a bit more about the history of that.
There was happened, I think it was every year, sort of primarily in the 60s, a few in the 70s as well, but there was hill climbs, there was, you know, closed track racing, there was all events going on. It was a huge thing, and like there are now sort of modern equivalents where you get a couple of hundred bikes, but I've heard stories of, you know, literally thousands of bikes almost descending on the island back in the 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really nice to be able to display this group of scooters, you know, and kind of put that context with the history of the Isle of Man. We even have, you know, a racing scooter now on display in the museum that someone's loaned to us.
Great.
Which is incredible. Yeah. So David is still he is around. He comes up to the museum occasionally, but his son Jason was really sort of the driver behind putting these on display. His dad had them; they were in storage or disassembled. So over the last few years, he's been helping them get them back together, get them on display. So we've got, you know, a wide variety of his bikes here. We saw the ones on the wall. We've got things like his helmets. We've got a storage cabinet with various medals and, you know, prizes he's won over the years. And it's very unusual to have one sort of person's race history sort of to share and display here. And it's got some interesting bikes as well. He was doing it for a while, and he had good taste too. So.
Great.
Very nice guy as well, which is always pleasant to say, yeah.
The Halewood replica keeps just catching my eye.
Yes, yeah, that's definitely a feature of it. And then you've got some of these, they were Works Bultacos as well. So, you know, he like you say, he was kind of using last year's bike a lot of the time.
Okay.
So he meant he had access to bikes. They might, you know, not necessarily the most new, most technologically advanced, but always a decent bike, always a decent machine. So he was getting good results as you know, due to that. Sometimes my dad turns up with odd things, and that was one of them. And it's just here on display. I think he nicknamed it the Hardly Dangerous.
The Hardly Dangerous. Yeah. To be fair, I would have one of those in my home.
It is fun.
It's great.
Yeah. It's kind of doesn't really fit in with anything else we display, so it kind of just gets, you know, randomly moved around the museum, and you'll find it in a new spot next time.
Great. Now I've got to go to the tyres, because the collection of tyres you've got here. So you've had these donated, haven't you? And some of them are previous race tyres.
Yes. So there's a mix of donations and loans, and sort of sometimes a tyre just appears outside the office overnight randomly and things like that. But yeah, there's. Some are just, you know, examples of historic race tyres, and some are you know, race-winning tyres signed by the rider who actually won the race on them. So around the other side here, we've got some Joey Dunlop ones, for example.
We've got some Steve Colley there.
We do, yeah. These ones are all labelled up with the various races that they were competing in and they were used in. So we've got, you know, Joey Dunlop 1995 F1 TT, 1996 20th TT victory.
Signs.
Signs, yeah. And a lot of these
Wow.
were, the story that we've heard was they were obtained by, you know, going to the teams at the end of the race and just literally asking, can I have the old tyres? And then getting them signed and making a note of what they were. It's so much of these things it's tracking the history, tracking the provenance, because it's not just a story of it's an old race tyre.
Yeah.
No, it's got some sort of historical context to it.
Just
Tell that
incredible,
story,
isn't it?
yeah.
Steve Hislop, Joey Dunlop, 20th TT victory. Wow. David Jeffries. Amazing. It's just a simple thing, you wouldn't think, but what a great piece of history to keep.
And again, it brings back people's memories.
Yeah.
You know, people who
And
have been
share the
watching that,
stories.
they can tell it, yeah. The number of times during TT you see a group of people just standing around, just reminiscing. It's wonderful.
So we'll just touch on, because this is the racing,
racing
scooter, isn't it? So tell us how you managed to get your hands on this
So,
1967 Vespa.
yes, so it's got some Manx racing history, which isn't something I thought I'd ever really say about a Vespa, but there was a scooter rally happening recently on the Isle of Man, and the owner of this bike was over. He had came to the museum, he was chatting to us, and obviously really liked the place, and we got on well with him, and he said, no point me bringing this back, would you like to put it on display? So he left the scooter here with us, and he went home without it. And yeah, we're very fortunate now to be able to share it with people and tell that story that's not quite forgotten, but maybe sort of less well known than the TT and the MGP.
So what's the difference with the racing Vespa? How would they adjust it for racing?
I think it was just engine tuning.
Just engine tuning,
I honestly don't know a huge amount about the details of that bike, but yeah, I think it was just engine tuning. But that bike, I believe, was actually used in the Gulf of Oman. So it's a Middle Eastern bike, but built to US spec.
Yeah.
Owned by a local guy now. When it came out of police service, they obviously stripped all the badges and gear off it, so he's kind of dressed it up a little bit as Kawasaki police force bike. But yeah, it's a great thing to have on display. It's one of the heavier bikes to move around the museum, I will say that.
Yeah, looks it. Great. As a kid, my granddad, Manx, moved to the States, and he got an obsession. That's probably where my obsession came in, with American cars. He had a old police Harley Davidson.
Very cool.
He managed to get his hands on, and he got the helmet, the jacket, and I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking, Granddad, you're so good. But it sounded just...
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So do you have, there's such an incredible collection. Do you have would anything in particular stand out for you from a two-wheel variety?
Ooh, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I've always found is the same with cars, is if someone asks me what my favourite car is, I can give you an answer, and I'll give you a different one in 10 minutes' time, and a different one again 10 minutes after that. So much of it depends on, I think, the mood you're in, what you're interested in that particular day, the experience or the history or the memories it draws back. So I find it really hard to choose a favourite here of anything. You know, I think when you look at something like an RC30 that's just an iconic sort of, you know, modern sort of classic, that really speaks to me. But then if I look at some of the very early machinery and imagine, you know, guys who are racing on what was sort of dirt tracks around the Isle of Man, it's just, I can't choose. I can never choose. So I think everyone should just come here, choose their own one, rather than me tell people what to choose. Yeah.
I know you had the Bob McIntyre bike
We
here,
did,
didn't
yeah.
you, for some time? And
Yeah.
to think what he achieved in that era on that bike to get the first 100-mile-an-hour lap.
absolutely incredible.
Like-
You know, fantastic achievement. We've got his trophies and various pieces of artifacts from his family, which is lovely to have. The bike they currently have back in the UK, and they're taking it to various events and shows. I'm hoping we will get it back on display at some point shortly.
Great. Well, I'm crossing everything and I'll be back, definitely. So, Isle of Man Motor Museum, come and check it out. This is from a two-wheel classic perspective. It's insane, the collection they've got here and everything else as well. It's so much fun. Give yourself a few hours though, right? And come and check it out. I thoroughly recommend. Darren, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming.
Had so much fun.
Yeah,
What a
great.
great way to spend a few hours.
Glad you could make it.
Cheers. This is Two Wheeling Classics. I'm Hayley Coxon, and thanks for joining us.